Oh, God, blimey. Oh, God, blimey. Look at the time. Look at the time. This show should have been out nearly 10 minutes ago. Nat, love, are you coming? This show should have been out 10 minutes ago. Oh, God, blimey. Oh, that Lob and Desmond. Oh, those two. They make my life a misery. They really do. Oh, I think he's coming now. He's coming now. Oh, come on, Nat, Lob. Come on, Nat, Lob. Get on with the show. I'm going to report these two to the manager. Oh.
Hello, welcome to the Terry Nutlog Model Railway Show. Today we're going to be talking about foam layouts and what makes a model railway.
Nutlog, you make my life a misery.
Run buses, he couldn't run a bath. Let's get on with the show. Hello, welcome back. This is the Terry Nutlog Model Railway Show. A light here for all things model railways. Today we've got our foam layout back out again. And what we're going to be doing today is fitting some uncoupler ramps. Now these are Pico uncoupler ramps and this is Hornby track. As I said before in the previous episode, you can mix the two together. But there's a tiny problem, and you will encounter tiny problems when you're dealing with model railways, and that is that these don't quite fit between the sleepers. They sort of go on one side, but not on the other. It just needs a tiny bit filed off. Now, problems like this occur all the time with model railways. It's not a big issue. All we need to do is remove a tiny bit of plastic like this from here, and that will fit in the track. So what I'm going to do now is use our old friend Freddie the file, and we're going to file a little piece of plastic off. It's very easy to do. Now we may well speed the film up here because somebody filing a piece of plastic isn't the most interesting thing. Okay, so we're back. Full disclosure, I got a bit carried away on the first one. This is the first one. And as you see, I've filed off too much. That was rushing for the cameras. So what I've done is I've put a little piece of metal in there, tiny piece of brass rod I've bent round because I actually broke the clip that holds the top on. So we try to be honest on this channel, and that's what I did. I haven't got a spare one, so I repaired it. If you're doing this, just take your time, don't rush it. I was trying to rush it to speed up the process for the cameras. So anyway, I've repaired that one, and on the second one I've had to file a little piece off both ends to make it fit. As I say, this is the experience you'll have with model railways, and don't give up, just be patient, slowly file pieces of the plastic away and you'll find it will fit. Don't rush it. I rushed it and I broke the uncoupler ramp. If you're new to the hobby, you probably won't have a piece of wire to fit and you won't have the experience. So unfortunately, that would have cost you £1.90 to go and buy another one. So let's just fit them in the track. They now do fit. I've tried this, so we'll push them into the track and you get a little clip fit when they go in. We just do that now. So push the first one down. You hear that little click as they go in. They now fit. We'll do the other one. Much louder click from that one. And they're in. Okay. And the last thing that we're going to do is fit this buffer stop. I've done the buffer stop and uncoupler on the other half, which is just out of shot. And this really is a simple little push fit. And that's why I've got that tiny straight section just to fit the buffer stop on. You don't have to have that. You could try to put them onto the curves. And there we are, just to defeat me again. It's going to prove awkward. No, it's not. There we are. It's on. There we go. Clipped on that time. Second time lucky. And that's all it is a push fit onto the track. It slides a tiny bit back and forwards in between the sleepers. So let's connect up the transformer and the controller and we'll run a train round and we'll see how these uncoupler ramps work. I'll be honest with you, I've not had a lot of luck with these uncoupler ramps. I don't normally use them on my layouts, but they're designed for train sets, and that at the moment is what we've got. So we'll get the locomotive out and a couple of wagons and we'll see how we get on with them. We'll see you in the next bit. So I've got the 2 uncoupler ramps in, the controllers all connected up. We'll just run the train round and see what happens. I suspect that at least one of the wagons will uncouple when we don't want it to, but we'll come round at full train set speed and see what happens. We'll just turn the controller up, see what happens. Here we go, full train set speed, see what goes on. There we go. As I suspected, and this is the experience I've had with these uncoupler ramps in the past, the wagons just can't get across without decoupling. We'll come back, give it another go. Now, as I've reversed the wagons over the uncoupler, we'll see what they're supposed to actually do, which is uncouple. So they're very good at uncoupling, but the trouble is they uncouple when we don't want them to. We'll give it one more go. Bring the train back round. Let's just see if it can cope with one wagon, shall we? No, I didn't think it would. Now this is a problem, as I say, because these uncoupler ramps are suggested to be used with train sets. I've never really used them, never got on with them with my model railways. I always find that this happens, and that certainly if you go at slower speeds, they almost certainly always uncouple. Now you can mess about with the uncouplers and do all sorts of things when you're more experienced in railway modelling to try and solve the problem. These can actually, where they're sprung up all the time, they're constantly trying to uncouple a wagon, and you can modify these so that they come up and down on servo motors and all sorts of things. But that's far too advanced for someone just starting in the hobby. And as you saw there, it can get very frustrating and put people off right away if they can't run a train round without the wagons disconnecting all the time. It really becomes annoying. So what we're going to do is whip these out, and I'll show you my solution to uncoupling. So with the uncoupler ramps removed, now the train can travel round quite happily at any speed. It doesn't have to go rushing past at 100 miles an hour. We can take it around, of course, because there's nothing to uncouple the wagons. It can go along at a nice, reasonable speed. So how do we uncouple the wagons when we want to? Well, if I just bring the train back, I'll show you. So what I have here is just a little glue spreader. I'll show you there. Now this can quite easily lift the couplings. Let me just lift a couple of wagons off and show you what's happening. So when the wagons couple up, as you see, these 2 hooks engage with the little bar on the wagons, and they keep together. Now, you're not going to be able to separate them when they're like that, but when they're pushed together, all you need to do is push up those 2 little pieces like so. And if we use a piece of plastic or anything, could be cardboard, to reach under, we can quite easily lift these up and separate the wagons. So we'll do that now. We'll push them all together. Use the little plastic uncoupler. We'll just push it in between the 2. And all we need to do is lift those 2 little hooks up, just enough that when we push the engine forwards with the controller and it moves off, it takes the wagon, the first wagon, leaves the second behind. Simple as that. We didn't have to lift the wagons off the track or anything like that by hand. Now, I use this glue spreader because you can get hold of them easily. But what I've also done, in true Blue Peter style, is I've made something out of plastic. Now, again, if you don't have plastic, you know, you could make this from a stiff cardboard and glue. It's a piece of plastic that acts like a handle. with just an angled piece at the bottom that does the same thing and goes under the uncouplers and simply lifts them up. With this one, I can let go because the weight of it pulls them down, and I can simply separate the wagons like so and then lift that away. Now, the exact dimensions of this depend how what your couplers are and the height of your track, but they're simple enough to make that you could make one or two and experiment with them. And to me, this is the answer for uncoupling wagons. It allows you to go at slower speeds and more realistically uncouple wagons and uncouple them where you want to. A lot of people, of course, don't like the idea of reaching in to the model to do things. But in the real world, the uncoupler, the shunter, would come and uncouple the wagons. And to me, rather than have these slightly unsightly uncoupler ramps that, as you've seen, don't work very well, spread all over the layout, to use one of these or one of the spreaders is the answer. And I think that's the way forwards. Of course, if you want to keep uncouplers on your layout, then as you've seen already, you can install them on here. I don't find they work very well, but it's up to you. So having said that, we've seen how the wagons can be uncoupled. Let's get another engine out and just do a little bit of shunting. Okay, so we're just going to bring round the other engine, which is a Bachmann 08 shunter. Now, this is about 25 years old. It's been sitting on the shelf for a little bit, but it's still quite a nice little runner. I've weathered it slightly, so it looks slightly different to the wagons that are all completely in pristine condition. And we're just going to shunt a wagon into the siding, and we'll drop it off there as though it was delivering minerals like it was designed to do. Now, so this is what you can do when you're shunting on the layout, and it gives you a second choice of what to do rather than just belt around at 100 miles an hour. Again, if you like that, then that's fantastic. You know, model railways are for everyone and they're what you want them to be. But for some people, they'd like to operate a railway in a more realistic way, and this allows you to do it. And we'll bring the engine away. Off it goes, leaving that wagon behind. We can remove that now. And off it goes on its merry way with the other two wagons to take them to whatever factories they're going to go to. And we can change the point back to the main line, and it leaves the mineral wagon sitting there. Now, that's obviously the most simplest manoeuvre you can do. So is this now a model railway, or is it still a train set? Well, let's just have a look at some other model railways that I've made and taken to shows that are made from foam. So this is the first layout that I'd like you to see. And this is a layout that's called Ian's Farm. And I took this layout to a show only 2 weeks ago in Hastings. And as you can see, it's basically just a circle. Now, this radius of track is actually 10 inches. It's a very tight radius. And I've used a fine scale track to get such a tight radius. You won't easily get a radius as tight as this with normal track. It was designed to take to shows just so it can run and be left unattended in a way so that I can talk to people at shows and talk about model railways. Is this a train set? Is this a model railway? It just goes round and round in a circle, just like a train set would, and yet it has quite developed scenery. It shows you what you can do. This layout is very, very light. I can pick it up very easily. If you can see underneath, it's made from 5mm foam board, and it just has a single connection for the power. There's nothing to it. It can actually run on batteries if it has to at a show or in a marquee where there's no power. I've used it running on batteries several times, and people, you know, quite like it. Is it a model railway though? Well, let's have a look at something else made of foam and see what you think. So this layout is called Lockmuir, and I took this to the exhibition 2 weeks ago at Hastings as well. This layout again is made of foam. It's made from a foam called yellow foam, which is a foam designed for sound insulation as opposed to a thermal insulation foam, Kingspan, that we've used for the train set layout. Now, again, is this a train set or is this a model railway? I think that there's no real argument that this is a model railway, and yet it's still made of foam. It's very, very light. Again, this can, if needed, run on batteries, as you can see underneath. It's very simple. The only difference with this is that the yellow foam is only 3/4 of an inch thick, and it's not strong enough to support itself as the Kingspan is. So in order to make a rigid structure, we've had to use the foam at the sides and at the back. And just to take it to exhibitions, I've actually finished all the edges off with this PVC plastic edging. That doesn't need to be there for the strength. It only needs to be there to protect the foam from bumps and knocks all the time, because that unfortunately does happen if it's going in and out the back of a car to an exhibition. If you were keeping this for your home, you wouldn't need the plastic edging. It would be fine. But as you can see, if I move it into the camera shot, make sure you get a good view. We've got a 3-way point here. We've got a little goods siding, a platform with an extension. These actual lights on the platform work with LEDs. There's a battery pack that powers them. The points can be worked with these little levers from the front, and these are no more than paper clips that have been bent out to form little levers that we can work the points with. I use the same uncoupler system that I showed you earlier to uncouple wagons. The building is a modified Pico kit, and everything on this layout came from plastic kits that I've either modified or just built straight as they should be. The little goods shed is a modified wheels kit. And this again just shows you what you can make with foam. It's made from foam because it's designed to be light and carried about to shows. So again, I'll ask you the question, is this a model railway? So thinking what a model railway is, let's just go back and have a look at our train set and see what we can do about that. So here we are back with just one half of our original, and I keep calling it train set layout. So what is the difference between a train set and a model railway? Is this still a train set? If we fill the middle in here with buildings and scenery and put scenery around the edge, is it still a train set because it just goes round and round in a circle? But we have sidings, and as we've seen, we can do shunting manoeuvres just like the real railway. We can operate it in a correct operational fashion. So does that make it a layout, a model railway rather than a train set? As you saw earlier with Ian's farm, it's just a circle. It goes round and round, and yet it has scenery. So again, is that a train set or is that a model railway? And finally, with Lockmuir, we have a foam layout that quite clearly is a model railway. Now, why? It's still made of foam. It doesn't go round and round in a circle. Is that the answer? Well, I'm going to be quite radical here, and I'm going to say no. Going round and round in a circle isn't what a train set is. You can agree or disagree here, because a train set, a model railway, is what you make it. If you want to keep this, the two halves of this, and build in the centre a little town or village, or just have scenery with fields and cows, whatever you want, it could be an airfield, it can be anything you want. If you're happy with that, it's your train set stroke model railway, because a model railway is a train set is a model railway. And the idea that it being a train set is derogatory is something that unfortunately still exists in model railways. But I don't think a train set is derogatory, and if you want to call it a train set, call it a train set. But anything that operates on a board that is fixed, in my opinion, is a model railway. Only things that you take up and put back in the box every time you use it, like the original train set we got out of the box when we first started, only then is it a train set. In this form, it's become a model railway already, and it's going to become a model railway that we add scenery to. So as I say, if you want to keep it in the two together and fill the middle in, as lots of people traditionally do, that's great. But I'm going to come up with a slightly different idea here. You don't have to follow this idea. It's just something I'm going to be doing. And this involves the magic foam. Yes, it had to involve foam, didn't it? So this is the 5mm foam board that Ian's Farm is made from. I've got lots of this. You can buy this in sheets as big as A0 from Amazon, but more commonly you get it in sheets that are A3 or A4. If you get it in sheets of A3, you're going to have to join 2 or 3 together, and I'll show you how to do that. It's very simple. But in the next episode, what I'm going to be doing is putting a divider between these two halves. So basically, if we look down the layout, it's very difficult to see it any other way. I'm going to be putting a piece of foam that goes completely across. So we're going to have to cut holes where the track goes through, and that's going to form a tunnel at one side and a bridge the other. And this will separate this side of the layout from the other. The train will still run around, but we will see the train arrive from somewhere, perform its shunting manoeuvres or whatever it has to do, and then depart to somewhere. Basically, it now has purpose. And in viewing it in this way, we see it like we see the real railway. On the real railway, we see a locomotive come from somewhere. It drops off passengers, it drops off goods, and it goes off to somewhere. We don't see where it's come from. We don't see where it goes to. We just see what happens in the vicinity where we are. And in this format, that's exactly what we're doing with the model. In my opinion, it makes it much more realistic. And secondly, it allows us to see the other side in a different light. In other words, we can make a completely different scene on the other side. So we've now split this railway that was originally just a big circle going round and round with 2 sidings into 2 individual railways. They need each other to run, but we can view it from this side and we can build this side up, as I intend to, with a little loading dock and a road coming into it, and make this a countryside scene. The other side can be anything we want it to be. And when we've had enough of looking at this side, we can simply turn the layout round and view it from the other side. And that way, we've got 2 layouts in one. As I say, you don't have to follow this idea. This is just my suggestion. And this is what we're going to be doing in the next episode, where I'm going to be making the back scene and doing some hard landscaping. That is basically putting in the bridges and the initial forms of the hills and roads. And after that, we'll be putting on more intricate scenery and some buildings, a loading dock, and all sorts of things that will bring this layout to life. So that's going to come in the next episode. And what we're going to do now, just for a minute, is we'll see Lockmuir and we'll see Ian's Farm running with some actual wagons and rolling stock on. And then we'll come back and say our cheery byes. So that's just about it from me and Desmond. Desmond has just come in at the last bit. He's been very disappointed there were no sharp knives or anything dangerous in this episode. He likes a bit of danger. Anyway, so thanks for watching. I hope you liked it. And as always, if you find that you liked it, please like and share to somebody else who you think might benefit from this episode. Please subscribe. It's all free and it does help the channel, and it promotes the channel on YouTube, which is all about algorithms and liking and sharing and subscribing. So as I say, please do that. And all that's left to say, as usual, we'll come out with our catchphrase. Nice one. See you next time.